I would like to share with you about some rules that I think will help you to understand what are the differences between the open gestures and those gestures that have something to do with emotions or hiding something. So the general rule is the same for humans and animals. Probably you have a cat or a dog, or you experience how to play with a cat or dog. So when you are close to a cat, the cat will just lay down and show your belly to have more cuddles from you. And this is the moment when your cat is really open and trusting and vulnerable, because the cat is showing the inner parts, that are very sensitive. And when a cat is feeling that danger, maybe, so the cat would be on 4 paws and really hiding the paws maybe under the belly. So we do the same. We don't have paws, but we also show our body, our front part of our body, which is very sensitive to people, when we feel open, when we trust, when we feel safe. When we feel unsafe, we will cover our body to protect. So we use different protection, different barriers. So we can put hands here, we put heads here, we are scratching our face, we are hiding ourselves somehow, because this is our instinct to tell us that we need to hide, because we are not safe, or we don't like to be there, so we want to disappear. So this is the general rule that will help you to understand what's going on. If you see that the hands or the arms are here, or there's something around the face, around this part of the body, it means that the person is not feeling secure and there are some emotions going on. If the person is open, relaxed, and showing more of the body, it means that the person is safe. In some Eastern philosophies, you talk about the chakras. So it could be that somehow we want to cover the chakras as well, if we don't want to talk with somebody, or if we are not interested in something.
On the top of the cards that you see on your slides, you see a symbol. There are different symbols that help you to categorize those different movements. There could be a plus, which means positive body language movements, a minus, which is negative movements. There could be a dollar sign. These are movements that could be used in negotiations. There could be a face, which means that it's about facial expressions, a heart, about emotions. And there could be also a star, which means that it's related to confidence. So these are different categories that help you to categorize those movements quickly and easily.
Maybe about the face, so the sign for the face is not only for micro-expressions, but also for other signs that are related to the face. So different emotions that we also show, not only through micro-expressions.
So let's get started with the first one. The first one is when somebody's drawing with their hands, they're illustrating what they're telling. And if it's connected with their words, then obviously, they're congruent. They're connected to the topic.
They are engaged.
When somebody tilts their head like this, it means they're interested. Actually, you saw President Obama doing this regularly during negotiations. When he was face-to-face with his opponent, he was doing this. And his opponent had the impression, at least their limbic system in their brain, had the feeling that they were convincing President Obama. Doesn't mean that they were really convincing, but President Obama was showing their main artery, vulnerability, and feeling empathetic with what they're telling. And the other person, puts their guard down. So if you want to show that you're interested in what the other person, your client or your negotiation partner is telling you, do slightly this. And that will help to give that information to the other person. Or the other way around, when persons feel this way really, they do this automatically.
So, for example, if you feel that you are arguing with somebody, to put this person at ease, you can tilt your head, and the other person will have the experience that you are listening.
And becoming softer.
Yeah, and will become softer. This helps.
Same is with like a small animal or like a cat. When the cat is looking straight at you, you know, that's cute. But if it does this, it's cuter, right?
You're so cute.
So when somebody's showing their wrists during a presentation, they're obviously open. They're honest, accepting. If your customer is doing this, it's a good sign.
We just spoke with somebody from Saudi Arabia, and for them it's still a sign that they are not wearing weapons. So this is a sign that, okay, I'm here not to kill you, but to have a nice conversation.
When your body is directed at who you're listening to, it's a good sign. It means that you're attentive, that you're interested and eager to hear what they're telling you. If somebody is looking at you, right now I'm looking at you, Megan, but my body is somewhere else, it means that I have more attention to this direction than to what you're telling me. So,
You should.
when somebody is quickly rubbing their hands like this, it's a good sign. They're really enthusiastic, they're happy, they like what you're proposing. Later on, we'll cover also the slow rubbing hands, which is not such a good sign. We'll cover it then.
So, for example, if you would like to buy real estate and your real estate agent is rubbing their hands quickly, so it means that this is a good deal for everybody. But if the same person is rubbing the hands slowly, it means that it might be a good deal for him, but not for you.
When you're talking to somebody and somebody's leaning forward, then they're interested. Pretty obvious. However, pay attention to those little movements, especially when it happens in a crucial moment. A crucial moment when you discuss something important or mention the price. When at that moment somebody leans forward even slightly, it's a good sign that they're curious, they're positive about what you're saying. This is an interesting thing to look for. When somebody's mirroring, consciously or subconsciously, most of the time it happens subconsciously, your body language, what you're doing, how you're sitting, even a part of that, it's a good sign. It means you're in rapport. They're interested in what you're saying, they're agreeing, they are like connected to you.
So, for example, if you would have a negotiation meeting and you have 5 people and 3 of them are mirroring each other, so it means that they probably share their opinion. So you would need to convince only the 2 of them about your proposal, or to leave those 2 away and focus on the 3 ones.
You can use this also yourself strategically in meetings. For example, if I would go and sit at a table with Stan in the same way as he does, if I would sit like this, that's a good sign. We're in rapport. We're mirroring each other, and Stan will feel that I'm similar to him. We feel like a partner. If I would sit to the back like this, it would be different, right? And Stan would feel we're not matching the same energy. About handshakes. When somebody is giving you a vertical handshake, let's exercise with Kasia here. So like this, it means we're equal. It's a good sign we're partners, right? Here are some tips for giving a good handshake. When you want to be in a partnership with somebody and at the same time stay in control of the meeting, I suggest to squeeze like 10% more than the other person. Which means that when usually women have a slightly weaker or smaller handshake, then it means that men need to adapt to squeeze only 10% more than what they're doing. If you have a big guy in front of you, and you're slightly smaller, then you'll need to squeeze more to be equal and have some kind of control in this meeting. Because that first impression, that will give a lot of results for later on, depending on how you talk. But that first impression is very, very important.
So let me squeeze your hand. Yeah. No, it was fine. It was fine.
Just joking.
So when you have a big man in front of you, for women, you need to squeeze firmly the hand, only for like kind of 2-3 seconds. And this would be a sign that you are confident and you want to have a good relationship.
We're going to cover different handshakes later on. When somebody smiles, we covered this partly already in the micro expressions, even a small smile without the orbicularis oculi muscle, without the muscles around the eye contracting, that's a good sign of pleasure, somebody being friendly, and that they're agreeing.
This is your green light in negotiations.
When somebody is listening to you and they're putting their hand like this on the side of their head, they're probably interested. It's a good sign. Later on, you'll see when they're leaning their head like this and they're supporting their head, it's rather not such a good sign because they're getting bored, less interested. Watch out for these little movements. When somebody is nodding their head yes, while you're talking, while you're giving your proposal, it's a really good sign. Later on, we're going to exercise together with the blink conversation technique. This is one of the elements you'll be looking for. While you're talking, observe the body language of the other person, and this is also a green light that will give you the answer, yes, they agree with what I'm saying, they like what they're hearing.
Be careful when you travel to Japan, because they tend to use this sign only to agree that they are listening to you. They are not agreeing to what you are saying, but they just show you that they have respect to your words. So they can still say no at the end of the conversation. So we need to watch out for the micro-expressions and other signs.
When somebody's nodding their head several times in a short amount of time, they're confirming they're enthusiastic, they're agreeing, they're listening. It means...
Like I'm doing it right now?
Yes.
Exactly.
I keep doing
Now,
it.
this seems quite obvious. However, when you're talking or when you're listening, you're most of the time trying to pay attention on what's being said. It's very important to keep in mind these kind of little movements because from experience we know even if it looks obvious, people tend to miss those movements. And this is again a green sign that the person is agreeing to what they're hearing, to what you're saying. The Clinton box has been developed for Bill Clinton. Originally, Bill Clinton was moving a lot with his hands very, very wide. However, his career started to take off when he was a little bit more moving in front of his chest, in front of his belly, in the Clinton box. That's the persons who have been coaching, mentoring him, have developed the Clinton box for him, that he stays with his hands in front of him instead of making big movements, which made people feel that he's not telling the truth, that he's exaggerating, that he's not trustworthy.
It can be kind of scary if a big man is doing a lot of big movements around you.
Just out of control?
Yes,
Yeah.
out of control.
Exactly. So if you want to give a presentation and you want to be perceived confident, then stay inside the Clinton box. It doesn't mean that you have to do this always, because sometimes when you're illustrating something big, a big car, it's okay. But then most of the time it's good to stay inside the Clinton box.
Unless you are a rock star.
When somebody's putting their feet wide, actually on shoulder width, that's a good sign. Didi, when you stand in front in the beginning of your presentation with your feet wide like this, you're grounded, you're in control, you know what you're talking about. Seems obvious, however, many presenters, when they're stressed, when they're coming on stage, we see them standing like this, and they're kind of shaky or like this. It's not very confident or not helpful for giving a good first impression. So this is a good way, firm on both feet, shoulder width, to show confidence to your public. Another good tip when you're talking to somebody in negotiations, keep good eye contact. It means that you're trustworthy, you're open, you're interested. Like in Western culture and North America, usually around 70% of the time when you're talking, observing the other person, that's perfectly fine.
So you're not staring at somebody all the time because it's too intrusive. You are looking for nice eye contact to make sure that the person is following you and listening to your words.
When you see somebody sitting like this with their hands behind their head, they know better. They're superior, they're dominant.
And note as well that this is a nonverbal sign of the micro-expression of contempt. So if the micro-expression of contempt matches also the body language, it makes it even stronger.
When somebody's standing with their hands relaxed on their back, then it's fine. It's okay. They're confident. It's a good sign. However, when they start to squeeze their hand, we'll cover that later. When they're starting to squeeze their hand or the hand goes up higher, then it's not such a good sign. We'll cover that later.
And this is also how you can distinguish between the boss and somebody who is inferior in the company. So the person who is confident and feeling good, would have the hands like this. Could be, for example, in a company, a manager, somebody who is in position. Police, they always walk with hands like this, protecting the concert. They will stand with feet wide and hands like this. Yeah. So this is the natural position for somebody who feels confident,
Actually,
feels good.
in the military, there's a specific stance. It's called parade rest, and you train to stand like that.
Yeah.
This movement you saw regularly Steve Jobs doing. He was holding the ball, holding an imaginary basketball in his hands while he was talking. And that's kind of a derivative of the pyramid hands we'll cover later on, that is less intrusive, less dominant. This one is a really good movement to use in presentations to show confidence and that you know what you're talking about.
This movement helps you to show confidence, and you are at the same time still equal with other people when you show this movement, steeple hands. This is showing a little bit of superiority, which is not good, because if you want to connect, you want to be equal with people, not to show them that you are superior.
When somebody's making large jaw movements, they're confident, they're expressive. When somebody's making small movements with their mouth, they're kind of
He was
scared
so
of
cute.
it. They're kind of scared of speaking then. The sitting position of legs wide, mainly for men, shows power, being relaxed, confident. It's good when they're really relaxed. When there's kind of showing contempt additionally or leaning to the back, it starts to be a little bit dominant.
And this is mostly for men, because for women, they wear skirts or dresses a lot, and it doesn't work. And I also feel that it's also not so good for women to have legs so wide, because this is something that men normally do. So I think this is a small cultural differences between women and men.
When somebody's having relaxed shoulders, they are comfortable, confident, courageous. They're fine. They're okay. Especially during presentations, when you're talking like this with stressed shoulders, it's not a good sign. Showing confidence is also shown by the position of the body. How straight is the back? Is a person slouching or not? Obviously, when they're standing straight, they're proud, they're open, they're confident. This is a good movement to keep people calm, palms facing downwards. It shows also dominance. So if you would like to calm down a group of people,
A group of babies. It works with babies.
yeah, this would work. If you would say, hey, could you please calm down? You're actually asking them to do more noise. This position with thumbs out of pockets, it's perceived as arrogance. Or flirting. Like a cowboy, Yeah.
So beware when you are sitting in a bar and you are from the opposite sex, that it might be some sign of flirt.
It's usually for men this, but just be aware when you're a man and you're standing like this because you're just comfortable like that.
The thumb is a sign of ego. Yeah, this is ego.
Other persons, especially women, might perceive you as if you're trying to flirt with them, even though this is just comfortable for you. It's just how you're being perceived. This you might also see in the army, hands on hips. Persons are ready to go, they're prepared. It could be also slightly aggressive depending on the context and how you're standing or what you're doing with the face.
And here there's a difference, because if you say, okay, so let's sign the contract, and the person is showing, I'm ready, that's good. At the same time, if you say, okay, so let's continue the meeting and discuss the details, and the person is ready to go, it's not a good sign, yeah?
When somebody's sitting like this, with legs in an angle of 90%, again, mostly for men, you can expect that they're going to resist what you're saying. They're going to be ready for a debate, to argument with you, and to disagree.
Unless we see that in the USA people do it more than in Europe. So you can see that it could be, in some cases, for example with younger people, that it's a habit. So make sure that this is not a habit.
And speaking about 5 criteria that we discussed before, when you see the change of somebody moving into this position, then even though they're not yet argumentative with their words, you can predict that. You know you need to change something in what you're saying to be able to get out of that situation and be able to make sure that you don't get any resistance with the words, because this is your opportunity gap. This is your opportunity to still change their mind before they verbalize it. Once they say they're not interested, it could be too late. So this is a warning sign before they say it. We discussed a little bit the pyramid hands already. This is being confident, dominant, commanding, self-assured. And it's good to pay attention to that when somebody's trying to convince you of something. When they're doing this, then they're very convinced of what they're trying to say. These are the most common positions that you can see in daily life, in negotiations, in business meetings, everywhere. If you know these, you're well equipped to know exactly what other persons are feeling or thinking. It's kind of reading minds.